Perhaps it has to do with the music in the background.
Yeah, I mean, but that's like the most basic idea. Think about it. Like, there's music in literally anything, so why is it in the title? It doesn't make sense to me.
What if they mean the nighttime sounds creating a symphony, like the wind, the puddles in the water, the birds chirping, all to create a symphony of the night?
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty cool way of thinking of it, but it's, the game takes place indoors, so I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's not really, like, out in the nighttime, like, outside.
I think they just thought it was a cool title, man. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, you're probably right. Symphony of the Night. It does sound badass. It just feels like there's gotta be a little bit more. Such an iconic title means nothing? I don't know. It's gotta.
On backlog. Been gone for way too long. On backlog. Got so many games to play, dog. On backlog. Donkey Kong expands my dome. On backlog. Me and Carlo been fucking since dawn. On backlog. Did you know, yeah, Carlo wears thongs? On backlog. I really fucking hate this song. Yeah.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
What is up, guys? It is Robert of Gaming with me, and welcome to Back at the Backlog, the series where we take a look at the games that I recently beat off my backlog. Today's episode is on the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. The Castlevania franchise is a series that I essentially have no history with. The only other game in this franchise that I do own is Aria of Sorrow, which we'll check out one day. Although I do own the NES and Super Nintendo classics, which feature Castlevania games too. It's a series that I definitely wanted to check out with its emphasis on castles and vampires and taking out Dracula. It just sounded badass. The biggest being Symphony of the Night, as I've heard it's a classic and one of the greatest games of all time. As always, when I hear that, I try to ignore it, as that is just such a high and unfair expectation to go into a game that I haven't even played yet. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was released on October 3rd, 1997 in the US for the PlayStation. It was developed by Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo and published by Konami. What is this Symphony of the Night? No, really, I don't know, and apparently neither does the internet. It's just a cool title, I guess, but is the game any good? Well, here we are, 27 years after its original release. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the story first. We first get a nice and crunchy look at Castlevania, Count Dracula's castle, which takes us to the game and we begin playing as Richter Belmont. This is actually the ending battle to Castlevania Rondo of Blood. So, spoilers for that game? But it is a cool and unique intro having you play something of the previous game, which is understandable for Symphony of the Night, as this is integral to the story. We also hear this iconic line in gaming.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets! But enough talk! How about you?
Dracula's voice actor in this game is damn good, while Richter's is, not.
Tribute? You steal men's souls and make them your slaves.
Voice acting in video games is very hit or miss, that's for sure.
I think Richter's voice actor was the best one, actually.
Dude, I think you just like being a contrarian.
I can't even be a contradiction.
What? No, a contrarian.
A constellation?
A contrarian.
Constipation.
No. Although, yeah, I guess. You're full of shit. Once you defeat Count Dracula, we get scrolling text telling us that 4 years later, Richter mysteriously disappeared. One Maria Renard went looking for him when suddenly Castlevania appeared, and she went in looking for him. Alucard, Dracula's son, has awakened from a purposeful eternal slumber which was to stop his bloodline. He is aware of the evil that is lurking in Castlevania and sets out to stop it once and for all. Alucard runs all badass into Castlevania before the doors close and the adventure begins. That was a really awesome intro with the previous game's ending, memorable quotes, interesting story, and a badass entrance from Alucard. Yes, awesome enough you play as Dracula's son. Alucard. Right off the bat, visually this game is fantastic. Many points are some of the best sprite work I've seen, with some incredibly detailed and well animated bosses, backgrounds, and character designs. There are so many awesome looking enemies that are all different shapes and sizes. There's a variety of settings in this castle, and each one is very distinct in its visual design, which makes each one feel memorable in their own right. And I can't understate how incredible a bunch of these backgrounds look that absolutely enhance the already amazing atmosphere of this game. That also continues with the music, which is also pretty damn good, with tracks that will certainly stay with me for a long time. There's a surprising variety of genres that are covered, and they all really work within this game. Alucard controls really well. Movement is nice and tight. He doesn't have some big moveset, but will gain abilities over the game. Jumping around feels great, and combat works well for the game. It's a simple swing of a weapon, but jumping and swinging your weapon and timing it with your landing can give you a quicker swing of your weapon. It's a really fun and simple loop that is really changed up by the weapons you choose to use. Castlevania has a big area to explore, and this world is designed non-linearly. This is the game that cemented the term Metroidvania as the genre of games that follow this design mindset. Although I know I'm not alone in this, but the Vania part in Metroidvania makes no sense. If Castlevania is like Metroid, then the genre should be called Metroid-like, just like with roguelike, with the game Rogue. But for some reason, Castlevania had to be a part of the name. It seems like people have it there because of the RPG elements that were added in with Symphony of the Night, but whatever, it's an odd yet understandable term, but also apparently wrong, as the lead writer Koji Igarashi stated that The Legend of Zelda was the influence and not Metroid, which at that point, I don't even know what to say. I mean, what is the genre for this style of game? You could say it's a Metroid-like, but these dudes apparently didn't think about Metroid when making a Metroid-like? Then what about Metroid? Metroid games are Metroid-likes? What the fuck does that mean? I've heard the term search action is used in Japan, and yeah, that probably makes more sense. Regardless of my tangent on labels, you explore this map in all sorts of directions. There are areas that are inaccessible without certain powers that you have to find somewhere that will help you progress further in the world. It's an easy to read map that is designed incredibly well. These types of games always feel so rewarding to finally access an area you couldn't previously. While technically it's a lot of backtracking, and usually that isn't great in games, this genre makes it fun and satisfying to go through areas previously explored feeling brand new due to new abilities. For Symphony of the Night, you gain the ability to transform into mist, which can bypass certain obstacles. Not full-blown walls, but like prison bars. Other than that, that's really it. Then there's the wolf transformation, which unlocks like one door and you can run faster, but the jump is awful, so you pretty much can't explore anywhere with the wolf. Sure, eventually you could attack as the wolf, but no, pretty pointless. Then you have easily the best and most used transformation, the bat. Alucard as a bat is exactly that. Flying around everywhere gets you to any location in this castle, every nook and cranny, literally. Unfortunately, thinking about it, the transformations are probably the weakest design elements of this game. Really, only the bat is utilized a good amount for a genuine gameplay change. The mist and wolf really don't add anything other than just more access to the areas, but at that point they could have been literally anything in the world and it would have played out the exact same. Earlier I said RPG elements were a part of this game, and well, I personally didn't expect that. There is genuine XP earned from taking out enemies, which in turn levels up Alucard throughout the journey. You'll have equipment that changes the stats of stuff like attack and defense. You'll have a huge inventory full of weapons and armor to tinker with. It definitely does work for this game. There'll be money that you could collect when roaming around or defeating enemies or lighting out the candles. I became super damn powerful by saving some of that money and picking up some genuinely powerful weapons and armor from a seller that has some catchy ass music in the background. Initially the game was pretty challenging, I thought. I certainly died quite a bit, and they really make you feel it because every time you die you get a game over screen that slowly brings you back to the main menu, which is a gaming pet peeve of mine. A lot of older games do that, restarting you back to the main menu with that arcade mentality, and Symphony of the Night is sadly no exception. It just takes too long to get back into the game. It's almost a minute, and having to see that same screen over and over again can be annoying, as you know you're just going to load up your save file again to continue. Taking damage is a bit obnoxious. Getting hit by an enemy really sends Alucard flying, potentially even out into a different room, having to fight some enemies you might have taken out again because enemies instantly respawn. It definitely doesn't help when there are certain areas in the game, the biggest being this clock area, that some enemy placements feel impossible not to get hit. You got these Medusa heads that knock you around and turn you into stone and never stop coming, with these other big enemies around as you try to scale this area with platforms that are constantly moving. It's just too chaotic of an area. Other than that area though, I feel the game's challenge is pretty great for the most part. You learn from experience, get better weapons, and persevere through tougher challenges such as the chapel area. Cool area, but definitely was tough the first time around. But man, that confession room and its unique haunting music will always stick with me. As you do get deeper into Castlevania, you do run into someone towards the end, which I'm now going to talk about just to let you know. Scaling to the top of the castle brings you to Richter. Yes, Richter's waiting at the top ready to resurrect Count Dracula, which Alucard questions as to why he'd do such a thing. Richter just says, "'Cause the battle will last for eternity," which I don't really know what the hell he's talking about. Regardless, you do indeed verse Richter, and he is quite tough. Absolutely beating the crap out of me every single second, but with my fairy on my side that heals me when I go too low at times, plus my powerful weapon I had at the time, managed to stop Richter once and for all. Castlevania disappears and Alucard stands on a cliff, saying farewell to Castlevania, and then the credits roll. Well, while I did technically beat the game, this is apparently considered the bad ending. This is because Richter was actually not himself, but was actually being controlled, and the only way to find this out is by getting these holy glasses which you wear in the Richter fight to see this orb controlling him. Now I'll be honest, I found this out through a guide and only looked up further because I already knew about what was after this holy glasses fight. When defeating Richter with the holy glasses, this evil dude named Shaft tells us we are too late and the resurrection of Count Dracula is at hand. Then a cutscene with an upside down Castlevania appears, and yes, you do indeed travel inside of the inverted castle. And yes, this is indeed a whole other half to this adventure. This inverted castle is the entire castle inverted with new enemies and some of the coolest bosses in the game. There's brand new weapons to collect, equipment. This is literally the continuation of the game, and truthfully, I don't know how someone would even get to this part without knowing ahead of time. I knew about the inverted castle because it's so iconic, so when I beat Richter and the credits rolled, I knew I was missing something. I feel like I explored so much of the map, but I missed just enough to miss 2 items that I'm supposed to wear in a specific part of the map, which they do tell you once you have both rings. From there, a new entrance opens up, which leads you to getting the holy glasses, which then you fight Richter to progress on. Truthfully, if I didn't know about this inverted castle, there's a very good chance I would have just been writing the script and found out later. It's a damn shame that they don't make literal progress clearer. I see on forums that there are people who initially never even knew this inverted castle and continuation was a thing, which I could very easily see happening.
Damn, I thought that was the end of the game.
I mean, it technically is, I guess, so I can't be too mad at you at this one.
I don't like defeating Richter anyway.
Yeah, but the actual final boss is pretty cool.
Alright, you don't have to rub it in.
I'm not rubbing anything in.
Go ahead, talk about it.
I will.
Of course you will.
I was always gonna.
Yeah, whatever. Rub it in all you want.
This is the 53rd time we're talking about an ending.
Yeah, sure.
Just ignore this, man.
Yeah, ignore me.
So this inverted castle is pretty cool and a good use of reusing assets to really change the game. While I did have a lot of fun going around this castle with a new perspective, it also really isn't designed for basic jumping around. You'll be flying around as the Battlelot more than any other time prior to this change. This isn't the biggest a deal, it's not really a negative, but it's also not necessarily a positive, as some areas are a bit clunky when they weren't before due to not really being designed for this setup. This second half of the game is a lot quicker and easier since, while yes it's upside down, you've already been to these places and you'll likely be really powerful with some of the great weapons you could get in the inverted castle. So while early on there was quite a challenge, depending on your weapon and level, you could be murdering everything in your path. There's this iconic weapon in the game called the Chrysogrim. This weapon swings 4 times with 1 button press, and not only that, but it'll attack while moving. This makes Alucard an absolute menace and is easily the best weapon you could use. Depending on your stats and level, you could be taking out bosses in less than 10 seconds with ease. There's also another setup that is apparently even better, which I can't comprehend how, but is the Alucard shield and shield rod, but I was having a ton of fun with the Chrysogrim that I never really went out of my way to get that shield. These new bosses look incredible for the 5 seconds that they last. It's cool to verse someone like Death, but yes, he too melts away with my Chrysogrim. There's some OP ass weapons, but I mean, hey, you journey through the whole game to level up and get stronger, right? Well, congrats, you are now strong as fuck. Once you explore the entirety of this inverted castle, you collect 5 relics and head to the final bosses. There's 2 back-to-back fights, with the first being Shaft, the Dark Priest. He floats around in a bubble as you take him out. This weapon is insane. Alucard then comes face to face with his father, Dracula. Alucard tells him that he can't let him leave alive. Dracula questions Alucard how he could still be with the humans even after they killed his mother Lisa during witch trials. Dracula tells Alucard,
Still uttering the same nonsense. No matter. Now is the time to put aside your weak human side and join me in remaking this world!
Then the true final battle begins. Dracula is out here as this incredible huge beast. This is one epic massive design of a boss, but even as I take damage, he is no match at all for Alucard's Chrysogrim. Dracula is stunned that he's been defeated and asks what were Lisa's final words, which Alucard replies,
She said, "Do not hate humans. If you cannot live with them, then at least do them no harm, for theirs is already a hard lot. She also said to tell you that she would love you for all of eternity."
Lisa, forgive me! Farewell, my son!
Castlevania once again disappears and Alucard says goodbye to Richter and Maria as he feels it would be right that his cursed bloodline disappears from the world forever and says,
Farewell then, we'll not meet again.
Alucard leaves, Maria and Richter leave together, and the credits roll. That was a pretty epic ending with amazing sprite work for Dracula with a solid final cutscene of Alucard leaving this world for the protection of others. Interesting enough, there's even more endings as there is a best ending which requires 200.6% of the map explored, and Maria will go after Alucard and not let him leave alone, which is definitely nice, but I do quite like the lonelier ending of what I got. Then you can even play the whole game as Richter by typing in the name Richter for your file name, which is very cool, but I wasn't going to play the entire game again so soon. You could also play the game as Maria in later versions of the game, including the Sega Saturn port and later remasters, but obviously I played the original PS1 version. That was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That was a really great game. It is an incredibly fun search action adventure in an awesome environment filled with great design enemies drenched in a gothic atmosphere. I could definitely see why people consider this game a classic. I had a few little complaints, but nothing major in the slightest. Overall, I'm going to give Castlevania Symphony of the Night a... This game definitely doesn't suck. Get it? Because Dracula, you know? Vampires? Out of 10.
You gotta be kidding me.
What happened? What'd I do? What'd I do?
Stupid.
That was a really great game. I'll be curious to see how I feel about other entries in the series and how they stack up against Castlevania Symphony of the Night for me. What'll be the next Castlevania game I'll play? Who knows? Only time will tell. That'll be it for today though. Thank you so much for watching. Have you played Castlevania Symphony of the Night? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. Castlevania Symphony of the Night was a blood-sucking good time.
Wow. Okay, really? Another one?
But it is officially out of the backlog. Symphony of the Night. Symphony. Symphony, Symphony, Symphony Sonic 3. Symphony, Symphony, Simpin' for me. Symphony, 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 Symphony of the Night, Symphony of the Night. Okay, Symphony of the Night, Symphony, Symphony of the Night, Symphony of the Night. Oh, I got it. Symphony of the Night. Niffler! Niffler!
I'm literally right here.
Oh, I didn't know you were here. You were listening this whole time?
Yes, you're bloody crazy.
Yeah, well, Crazy just got shit done. I'm pretty sure I just figured out what Symphony of the Night means.
I thought we agreed it means nothing.
Yes, but it's too iconic to believe that. I broke it down in my head. Symphony of the Night.
Okay?
Well, think about it. Symphony of the Night. Who do we verse before the inverted castle? Symphony of the Night. Richter, right? He is a phony. He's not real. It's not really Richter that you're versing. It's Symphony of the Night, which leads into the real person of the night, which is Dracula in Shaftman, but which is why it's a clue as to how to get to the inverted castle. You have to verse Symphony of the Night.
Bruv, that is a lot to process and a stretch and a half.
But that makes sense, because think about it. How else would you know about the inverted castle? We all got stuck on it. Kylo didn't even finish the game with the inverted castle because he versed Symphony and figured that was it. But the hint is in the title from the very beginning. That makes sense.
Very creative, Rob, but there's no bloody way.
Come on. You really don't think so?
Not really. No.
Even though it lines up, like, no, Richter's a phony. It's not the real Richter. It's the hint all along. No, you don't think so?
No, Rob. I'm sorry. It's just too much of a stretch.
It's just a cool title?
Always has been.
I don't get it. Why would Konami do such a thing?
Don't get so hung up on it. We got our next game to play.
At least it's a very clear and cut title. You know what the hell it is, and you know who you're gonna verse. It's in the name of the game.
Exactly. Now, please, go get some sleep.